Has Dendro actually made a difference in Genshin Impact? What's up, everyone? This is Lo-Fi No, and I'm here to talk about it. With this new element, I'm pretty curious. I'm pretty stoked, as well as kind of it's unique, it's different, it's something that I wanted to talk about. So before we jump into it, if you like the content, then feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, you know, the usual thing that everyone says on their channel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start it. Number one, how I feel about it. I think that the new element in Genshin Impact is okay-ish. What I mean, so with it being brand new and it's able to work with fire, water, and electro, I really thought it was gonna work with cryo, but that's a side note. I will say kinda, it did buff a little bit of electro characters, really characters that have a lot of AoE aspect to them, and I'm gonna say why, because of adding water. If you have a water unit and also you're using a Dendro unit, then that's where the electro character really gets their buff from, because in all honesty, just applying Dendro and electro is not doing anything. You need water in order to get the little sunflower seed, then turn around and use electro to do the little attack mode thing that it goes with. It does a little beam, go, it hits the enemy, and then boom, boom, boom. I think that's the only reason why so-called electro got buffed. But in all honesty, Dendro really helped more of water units be more support role, or to be used a lot more. And electro characters was really just a side note that got buffed because of this. The next thing I want to say is burning. The burning aspect of Dendro and fire, I think that's fine. Of course, that's how it was going to work, because we already saw this when we had the little plant enemies and all that stuff in the game. But in all honesty, it's not going to be so prevalent where people are going to actually use this. The reason why I say this is because vaporize and melt is one of the biggest reactions that still holds king in this game. And so with that being said, a lot of people don't really see a point, in my eyes, I don't see a point right now messing with Dendro characters with a fire unit. Probably that will change once we get more Dendro characters, but at the moment I feel as though it's no point. I think the damage does okay, but it doesn't stay on the target, like the reaction or the element doesn't stay on the enemy long enough, versus like any other element reaction applying this. Really, is it still better than most reactions in the game? Yes, but really deep down, Vapor and Vaporize is still gonna hold king right now for the best reactions in Genshin. And to finish off on that note, I think that is a good thing that burning is not that high at being the best reaction, because Vape and Vaporize is already the greatest reaction in the game. We don't need burning to also be in that same playing field. It's gonna do better than the other ones that we have already, but it's alright, and it needs to stay like that. I also want to add that water units, other than like Xingqiu and now Yao Lin, it's really a niche if you play Tartaglia. It's also kind of a niche if you like to use Mona. Now granted, they both have their teams, they both have their roles, but in all honesty, unless you have a C6 Tartaglia, it's gonna be not good to actually play him, okay, unless you just really like the unit and you like to manage the element skill. And then 2 for Mona, most people are playing her for ult anyway, and to be honest, you could probably swap her out or use someone else that does better for your team composition. Now the next thing I want to talk about is like the other elements that are not that prevalent, especially Geo. Like dang, like the fact I saw a meme and it was at the bottom of the ocean and then like everyone else was trying to float and Geo's just at the bottom, dude. Like it's sad, it's really sad. I wish Geo would have something to mess with, but in all reality, Geo is okay where it's at. I do understand why they didn't do it, but I would have wanted them to actually do that. I mean, come on, they really could have did something. Let's be real, something, dude. The only character that really is being used a whole lot is most of the 5-star Geo characters and the support Geo characters like Guro and Yujin for their niche comps. People who play Ningguang are so that's really it. So Geo characters are kind of left in the dark for their compositions and how they could interact with other people. So I would kind of wish if Dendro would have did something with Geo, or to just something, or better yet, change the crystallization. Okay, just something, because their reactions suck. Don't know why we still have criticization, but here we are in the video. Next thing is cryo. To be honest, cryo could have got something as well. I firmly believe cryo could have had some type of reaction. Maybe we'll have one in the future, but for right now, they could have came up with something for cryo. Something along those lines for cryo. Cryo could have got the best elemental reaction, to be honest. Or they could have had something cool. They could have made something. This is fantasy, okay? It doesn't have to be so real life. They could have just came up with a cool ability that cryo did that made it unique and made it so different. So now that I have addressed the two elements that I would have loved to got some type of reaction or something changed about them, the next thing I want to add is about Dendro is it's like they're trying to compete with Animo to a certain extent. And I forgot to talk about Animo, but what I mean is Dendro is kind of the equivalent for animal characters in a sense, because majority of most animal characters you're using EM on them. Unless you're playing Hazo, Zhao, and Jean, those are the only three characters that doesn't really use element mastery that much, okay, for one. And so with Dendro characters, it feels as though you have to play EM. Like, it screams, hey, give me EM. This is how we are strong. This is how we get our damage, by having EM. And this also means that whether we see this or not, we're gonna have a meta where EM is gonna be so prevalent now, especially because we got an artifact for it, okay, for one. And two, at the moment, it seems as though Dendro is getting the best bang for his buck by actually doing reaction with other elements. Maybe that will change in the future, but for right now, for what I see, it just does good working with others. So at the moment, I kind of want to bet that we're going to be seeing a lot more Animo and Dendro and maybe other units that are not one of those two elements just running a lot of EM in the near future. I also want to touch back on something that I was already saying in the video, and that was Electro was kind of getting the afterthought after Dendro was introduced, kind of sort of. So what I meant by saying it is you really need water characters to get the best bang for your buck when you're using a Dendro character, which is why we're getting a lot of water units in the next update. That shows, and even now, some of the Dendro characters that we have at the moment really get bang for the buck when you're using a water unit. You're getting to put down a little seed on the ground. So because of that, you need that seed in order for Electro characters to actually get something valuable from the Dendro character. Just having Dendro and Electro does not do anything. It just puts the reaction on them, but it doesn't activate, it doesn't do more damage, it doesn't change anything. So really deep down, Electro is only strong because of water units, and Electro characters are already strong because of water units. Because if I remember correctly, it has Electro Shock, whatever. I forgot what the dumb reaction name was called, but for water and Electro, but you guys know. So really deep down, this, I want to say it kind of helps more of Electro teams by saying, hey, now you guys can add another element to your team comp that will benefit you instead of trying to use an animal character. You can use animal characters with Electro characters in water, but it just seems like Dendro is more way to go, since Dendro is giving you more damage per se. And I would say that the damage on it is pretty nice. I don't think it's all that crazy, but it does really, really nice. I have to say that it did help out Electro users, but it will never compete with Melt and Vaporize. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And with that being said, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say in this video. Just to recap real quick on the final messages about this whole video, is it good? I would say it's in between good and bad. Maybe like 5 out of, no, take it back. I think 7.5 out of 10, really. It is going to help out Electro characters because of water units. If water unit would never existed, then Dendro characters wouldn't have been that good for Electro characters in general. It will be helping out fire units all over again. And I don't feel as though Electro characters got the buff that so-called people are claiming, really. It just really made it more prevalent because of water. And finally, this Dendro characters are really more for element mastery than anything, and we're turning more into a element mastery meta, in my opinion. Maybe that will change in the future, but right now that's how I feel about it. So with that being said, you know, what do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? How do you feel about the new Dendro character? And yeah, thank you for watching all the way to the end, and catch you guys in the next one.